start.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to the DNZ
Podcast, film review podcast.
We're still
whatever.
deciding the name. My name is
Yeah,
Dylan.
we're still working on it.
Dylan.
And I'm Nathan.
And again, we're bringing our big special guest,
Benjamin.
So we're out here, and the film review that we'll be doing is actually a little bit of a change from what we usually do. We're actually reviewing a documentary of Rwanda, and the documentary is called Ghosts of Rwanda.
So Ghosts of Rwanda follows, it kind of shows the outline of what the Rwandan genocide was. It kind of takes you step by step through the events. So it talks to like real victims. I believe they even talk to a few people who like partook in the killings. So yeah, and it goes through that.
Yeah, they also talked about the neighbors of the president and prime minister who were assassinated. They talked to most of the people. Well, they talked to people that were really close to the genocide and experienced it firsthand.
Yeah.
So as expected from a documentary, it's less of a narrative or story-driven film like it was for Hotel Rwanda or Chican's The Devil. It was more like an outline encompassing the total events that happened for the genocide, what led up to it, what caused it, what was actually happening during the genocide, and of course the aftermath.
So I guess we're gonna go right into our camera and directing choices. Now, obviously, when it's a documentary type thing, they're not gonna go for like cinematography type things. However, I do believe that the camera does do a good job of catching like these big landscapes and like showing these events through like a very broad, like a very big shot where you see everything.
Yeah.
I think the camera work definitely was well done because Rwanda is definitely a very nice country, so it definitely showed that off in the documentary. And also like I like the close-ups that they did on the people they were talking to. Like it was very well edited. And yeah, I guess directing choices, like I don't like.
Yeah.
They brought
also
on the right people, like.
Yeah, the camera work did a fantastic job of capturing the horrors of the Rwandan genocide and really showing the people the devastation that occurred during that time.
Do you have any specific examples of what made the camera work like good?
Well, it was able to show the people like bodies of dead Rwandan people and showing the aftermath of genocides and even catching some warfare that was going on with some executions.
For sure. I'd say one thing I appreciate with the documentary is that it's showing real life clips of what happened. It's not created by, for the story. It really encompasses what truly happened. I also appreciate to really bring into the seriousness and the brutality of what truly occurred. They would show the bodies, like Benny said, they would show the bodies and the mutilation that people were subjected to. And the first-hand witnesses accounts. One thing I really appreciate is that the directors of the documentary actually interviewed real individuals that were very central to the Rwandan crisis. For example, they had General Dallaire as a huge figure that was in the documentary that always was in the film. So I really appreciate the links that the documentarians, people who created the film, went to get a more broader perspective of what truly happened.
Yeah, this documentary it's a whole lot different than the first two movies that we saw.
Yeah.
In the movies, it's more of a
Like a
dramatized movie. It's made to keep the viewers engaged and whatnot. But no, this documentary was just pure facts about what happened, and it made it
Like going
really
point
real.
by point with the facts, yeah. So I think we're gonna go right into we had to skip over a couple because it can't really apply to something like this, but I think this is definitely the most prevalent one in our example, the social outcry of this documentary.
Yeah.
So I believe that the social outcry, it does a lot to show like a real perspective of what really happened in Rwanda. Like it gives you all the facts, it just shows, wow, socially how awful this event was in history and how people today are still trying to recover. Like there's still shades of it in Rwandan culture, and it's definitely a tragedy that they're trying to move forward from, but it's always there to haunt them.
100%.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. It was like basically forgotten in the white world or in America and Europe. Everywhere in these places, they just it was a done thing for them. Even when they saw all these horrors, I'm pretty sure that the officials and the government officials were able to get traces of these videos at when this was happening. Yet they still decided that it was not worth to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think me and Nathan, we mentioned this in the other review for, I think it was Hotel Rwanda. The fact that the world just the world knew what was happening.
Yeah,
It's not like the
yeah.
world did not knew, and the documentary showed that the UN, especially the U.S. government, they knew what was occurring in Rwanda, and they made the choice not to intervene. The fact that that happened, you can compare. I remember Benny, we talked about this last time. Imagine if a genocide like this and that scale happened in Europe. There'd be a huge outcry. There should have been more action to be taken, but because it was in Rwanda, it was an African country.
It just wasn't seen as a priority by the world.
Exactly. It begs the difference. Why does that happen?
All it was really used for was for the media to like say, oh my god, this is so awful, but no one really did anything to help. It was just kind of a media.
I'm pretty sure that even the people reacted, oh my gosh, this is horrible, but then immediately the following day it was just a forgotten thing.
Yeah, I think even think about it. Think within our school system, how much do they actually teach about it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure, but in my experience, I honestly knew very little about this.
I haven't even heard about this before.
Yeah, so I think maybe there's not as much as emphasis on this one as maybe as the Holocaust, which, although it is like on a greater scale, you still need to like. I still think it's important to teach people like the failures of humanity from every part of the world.
Mm-hmm. When you put it into perspective, the numbers, which is, I know it's a hard thing to grasp, and I have to approach this topic carefully. But if you approach the topic with just by the sheer numbers of how many Tutsi and even moderate Hutus were killed, and that's short of a time span, over 800,000 killed in 100 days.
It's brutal.
It's insane to even comprehend how
How
much.
many people were just dying on a daily basis?
Exactly.
Pretty sure even during the Holocaust it wasn't even that fast.
It's brutal. It's brutal, but that's
You'd
what
have to
you
like calculate it probably.
right?
Yeah, but like, they got 6 million Jews during the Holocaust, and that's over the span of what, 5 years. Here they did.
Still,
Here they
still,
did 1/6 of that
Well, that's
in
still a pretty good amount.
100 days.
I wouldn't downplay that. That's still a pretty good amount.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it's a tragedy, but it's just unbelievable how fast it happened, and in the case of the casualties.
Yeah, and the brutality in which people were killed, but also it's unfathomable the fact in which they were killed. But
It was inhumane. You were
It's-
getting shot. You were getting hacked to death by machetes. It was brutal.
and it wasn't like
Women were used as sex slaves as
Yup.
well.
Yeah, there were
Brutalized.
reports women were like raped and then like they were hacked up by machetes. It was awful.
so. Just going back to my original question, what makes Rwanda? Why do you think Rwanda was cast aside? What
There's-
made the world not want to intervene?
There's no resources in Rwanda. It's a country that's not beneficial to the outside world. It's just a country on its own that doesn't have much to offer. That's why it's a
think-
poor country, and I guess it's because it's a third world country as well. Just people didn't seem to care about it.
My guess would be they not only did they not care about the country because it is kind of a third world country, so in their eyes it wasn't valuable. I think also because of the time period, they didn't want to like make people think, oh, we're going into another war, because I believe they just came fresh off the Cold War, which wasn't necessarily a war, but it's still like it had everyone like very like it had the people of the world like very shocked and like very like they were all not uptight, but what's the word I'm looking for? Everyone was very like nervous about it. Yeah, reluctant, sure. They were reluctant at the time, so by seeing that, it's like maybe they might have thought, do we want to fear people into thinking we're going to go into a war with Africa? So
Yeah, but this-
it's only a theory, but there's really no way to justify it or even know.
Yeah.
This wasn't really going to war against South Africa, though. That's the thing, and they even signed the treaty, the UN thing, where if genocide happens, then they have to act on it, and they could have. They had military standby,
They
from
even
a
had
bunch of
tanks
countries
deployed.
and everything, But the thing is that it's not. I don't think they could be, but I don't think that it's because they were scared of starting another war. It just there was no point to it. There was no point to waste resources on a country that has nothing to offer back.
Yeah.
Like, and then after that, of course, they went into Iraq and Afghanistan, and that was purely because it benefited them. Like the oil, they got a bunch from Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we've definitely all got to say what we were thinking. I think we all got it off our minds. We put it out there. So I think we're just gonna go straight into the film review of the documentary. So I suppose for the criteria, we're just gonna look at how accurate we feel, how much we learned. So I'll let Dylan start us out.
I would say I'm into documentaries. I like watching documentaries. They're often what I find of entertainment. I would say Ghosts of Rwanda was actually one of the documentaries that pulled my attention. The way that the film was created was gripping, and it holds your attention. I love the way the documentary was shot, in the same way that displayed like it was a timeline of the genocide. So you would see how the events and places in which it occurred as they were going through time. I appreciate that, and that would make it much more easier to watch for me. And as a whole, the content in Ghosts of Rwanda, I personally enjoyed. I thought it was very well created. So I would rate it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, okay. I think in terms of the documentary world, I think when I'm gonna give my review, I'm basing it off a documentary. So like if I give it a 4, I don't think it's better necessarily than Hotel Rwanda or something that I give a lower rating. It's more necessarily, it's like within how impactful the documentary was, how much information I learned.
Good skill.
So I think in terms of that, I think I'd go towards same route as Dylan, probably a 4, maybe a 4.5. It was definitely, I learned a lot that I didn't know.
You learned. That's the main thing. You learned. Yeah.
We learned a lot.
I would say that this documentary felt very similar to the movie Shake Hands with the Devil.
Right.
They both were very informational, but I feel like Shake Hands with the Devil just more engaging and more keeping you hooked. Whereas with the documentary, at times it was just very slow and repetitive information. So I would say 2.5 out of 5 maybe.
That's fair. I can understand your argument. I get that.
100%. All right. With that being said, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
12 minutes.